For the last 2 years or so, I've been playing Beat Saber. And once I started making videos, I slowly started to become part of the community. It's fun to have some people to talk to about the game with, but I feel like lately a big part of my gaming life is missing. See, when I was just a young Chai, I would get immersed into these amazing worlds and stories that really formed a huge part of my gaming experience. This was back in the time when gaming communities were few and far between. If you wanted to find people that played the same games as you, you'd have to find some forum on the World Wild West of Web 1.0. World Wild West? That's what I came up with? Of course I could talk to my friends about some games, because, you know, my buddy's uncle works at Nintendo, and he told him that you could unlock Luigi in Super Mario 64. And Justin totally found Mew in Pokemon Yellow. But there were some games that I would play that weren't cornerstones of my friend group's gaming landscape. Those were uniquely my games. These are the types of games that I miss. I didn't talk to my friends about them, I didn't research or look up reviews or follow the developers on Twitter. I mean X. And I definitely didn't join 2 subreddits and 10 discords dedicated to the game. I just played it. And because I didn't do any of this, these games truly felt like they were mine. An experience the developers made just for me to enjoy in that moment. The first time I remember playing a game like this was a little game on the OG PlayStation, Pandemonium, developed by Toys for Bob. Yes, that's the same developer of the Crash and Spyro remakes. So bravo, Toys for Bob, you've been bringing me joy for 17 years. I remember playing this game for hours. It was your standard 2D platformer. Run to the end of the level, collect some collectibles, take out some enemies, and defeat the bosses. Nothing special, but it's what I had and what I played. You could switch between this jester character, Fargus, and an acrobat, Mickey. They're on a journey to the Wishing Engine to get the village back after they got bored at wizard school, stole the teacher's book, and performed an advanced spell that summoned a giant monster that ate the whole village. I know. It's a little unrealistic if you ask me. But the point is, I played this game all the time because it's what I had and I enjoyed playing it until I got so mad from inevitably dying over and over and over again. But I never talked about it with anyone. I didn't have any friends that would say, hey, have you gotten the frog transformation yet? I experienced this game with myself and myself only. I remember the music making me feel like I was visiting a small castle town during the Renaissance. The colors were bright and inviting. I loved the way the levels curved in and out to give them more life. And the god-awful controls. Oh my god, they're bad. You just tap a direction and you go flying, or you barely move, and the double jump doesn't even work half the time. I actually bought this game on Steam, and it's honestly absurd how difficult it is. I couldn't get past the first few levels before I gave up from frustration. But when I was a kid, my brain was a ShamWow, and Pandemonium was a 2-liter of Coke spilled onto a carpet that I soaked up every ounce of. It's definitely not a great game by today's standards, but it was uniquely mine. A lot of the time, the reason that these games feel so unique is because they weren't huge popular games that everybody was talking about. I mean, while everybody was playing Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid, I was collecting clocks in Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. When people were racing through space doing barrel rolls in Star Fox 64, I was racing through the colorful bouncy worlds of Motor Toon Grand Prix. But that's not to say that these games have to be unpopular or unsuccessful. Because another game that was uniquely mine was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. There weren't a whole lot of kids my age that played Vice City. Okay, I mean there definitely were, it was one of the top-selling PS2 games of all time. I just don't think it was appropriate for a bunch of 10-year-olds to talk about how they were all going home after school to play Scarface Simulator. To this day, Vice City has to be in the top 5 games that I've put the most time into. I played this game non-stop for what felt like years. I knew every street, every ramp, every Easter egg. I knew this game better than I knew anything. It started my lifelong love of 80s music and culture. I would drive around listening to Wave 103, head down to Ocean Beach to go check out Apartment 3C, just before heading up north to make it to the stadium for the Hot Ring race. I loved this game so much, my dad found a complete walkthrough with every hidden package, mission, where to find every car, all the cheats, everything. He printed it out and put it in a 3-ring binder, and this thing had every detail you can imagine about the game. It even had made-up missions to roleplay if you had already 100% completed the game.
It looks like Jimmy Alfredo's running his mouth again. I heard he's been hanging out down at the Malibu with his boys.
This technically means that I had an outside influence on how I experienced it, but when I was that young, I wasn't thinking, oh, Versetti Spaghetti 76 wrote this, thanks friend. No, I just took it as my own encyclopedia of the game. I couldn't get enough of every pixel of this game. Vice City was absolutely uniquely mine. Another kind of game that I would consider uniquely yours is one that you were known for having and introducing it to your friends. They'd be like, yo, you gotta check out this weird game that Chai showed me last weekend. And then we'd proceed to spend the whole night playing that game that nobody would have been able to experience without you bringing it up. It was like you were the game god and had found this masterpiece after years of searching through the endless swamp of an oversaturated games market. For me, that game was Katamari Damacy. Now, if you don't know what Katamari is, you're missing out. My dad and I picked up a copy of Katamari Damacy from our local Best Buy after seeing the artwork. Being a fan of the weird, the unusual, and the bizarre, we had to figure out what this strange game about rolling a ball of junk around was all about. I immediately fell in love with the art style, the characters, the music, story, the whole thing. You start out as this tiny football-headed guy in green spandex called the Prince. You push around a ball to collect junk lying around all over the place to make the ball big enough to blast into space and replace all of the lost stars. As you pick up the stuff, the ball gets bigger and you can pick up more stuff. The first level or two has you picking up things around a house. It was oddly addicting. The pop when picking up items. The way it rolls all lopsided when you pick up something long like a pencil. But the real fun begins when you head out into the town and start getting bigger. I can't tell you how much we laughed when we picked up a dog and it started barking. And then I think we died when we picked up a human for the first time. This sound will forever be stuck in my brain. This game was the perfect blend of weird, quirky, and just pure fun. And the soundtrack has got to be one of my favorites of all time. Na 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 na. This was one of my favorites to show to my friends. Everybody always loved it and we'd have so much fun playing it. But the fact that I love it and I had the experience of being the one to share it with all my friends just means that Katamari is my game. The last time I played a game that was uniquely mine was a few years ago. During the height of COVID, I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I had plenty of time to dedicate and just got lost wandering around ancient Greece. I had never gotten into Assassin's Creed before and was never really a big fan of RPGs, so it was weird that it kinda hooked me as much as it did. AC Odyssey takes place in ancient Greece and follows Cassandra or Alexios in following the life of a mercenary for hire while trying to find their sibling and kill a bunch of cultists during the Peloponnesian War. It's kinda like baby's first RPG. But it was the last time that I had multiple all-day 12-hour-long gaming sessions. I spent so much time just wandering around the map and staring at the beautiful landscape. Climbing way up into the mountains, doing every side quest, finding every treasure, leveling up my gear. I didn't search out any communities to talk about it or get help. I just played until I ran out of game. I would return to areas I had been to 75 hours ago and remember what I had done there, or who I had met. I got to choose the way I wanted to play. I chose what weapons and gear I wanted to invest time and resources into, which abilities best suited my playstyle. The thing is, this is all typical RPG stuff. Weapons, armor, abilities, quests, you can find these systems and more in every RPG. But what made Assassin's Creed Odyssey such a special one was that it was my RPG. It's been too long since I've played a game that was uniquely mine. It's such a big part of my gaming experience that I've been missing lately. All my life, I've had games that I was in love with, knew way too much about, and couldn't keep my mind off of. I've noticed that lately I spend a lot of time thinking about achievements. I mean, I've sought out games that have quick or easy platinum trophies just because I want more trophies. I also spend a lot of time worrying about whether I'm doing everything perfectly the way you're supposed to do it. Or a lot of the time, I'll hop on Reddit to check out a game's community, and I'm immediately tossed opinions about everything from how the developers failed to deliver a good product, to everyone's thoughts about the new update, to Gripperlicker complaining about the floor patterns on the new free arena. And it's human nature that as soon as you read an opinion, you're biased. You can't play the game the same way. That opinion or bias is gonna have at least a little effect on how you experience the game. I miss going into games completely blind. I think I'm gonna try to make that a priority to do soon. Bring some more joy back into video games for me. But I'm really curious as to what games are uniquely yours. It would be really cool if anybody shares the same games, but have a completely unique experience from one another. I'm gonna need something to play soon, so maybe I'll check out one of your favorites. And maybe think about finding a new game that can be uniquely yours if you've been missing this experience too. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Bye!
I'm just going insane with the outcome. I finished my album and now I